What's up, you guys? Welcome back to another video. In this video, we're going to be talking about the different viewpoints of life. You ever be sitting there in your life and you're kind of like, man, like this moment right here could perfectly explain life. Like, I think that this literally in this moment could explain this perspective of what life is all about, right? Like I was watching a video of my friend. He was talking about how he was at this apartment complex and they had like reserved parking spots, right? You ever go somewhere and they have reserved parking spots? And he was saying how like basically God has something that's reserved for you. Like no one else can take that spot because it already has your name, already has your calling on it, right? And so then, you know, it kind of, stuff like that will make you think. Like I've even had moments where I've sat in a sauna and I'm like, you know, sitting in a sauna is kind of like how life is, right? You're kind of sitting there, you're uncomfortable, but you have to get through it mentally. You have to be able to be physically strong enough to, you know, sit there and be able to withstand the heat of life. You know what I'm saying? Like stuff like that. But in this video, I'm going to give two more things that I've realized that life could be like, and kind of like testimonies of how God has spoken to me. So first thing is, I realized that life is like an elevator. And you're like, well, what does that mean? Like, how does life look? How does life correlate with an elevator? I think that life is like an elevator because, you know, first off, people come and go all the time, right? People get on, people get off. It's like people coming into your life, people leaving your life, right? People come in and they're there. But when it's time for them to go, it's time for them to go, right? First thing is people come and go. Second thing is that there's so many buttons that you have to push. And so many opportunities that you can get to different floors. So there's different levels that you can get to in life, right? Some hotels have a level 20, some hotels only have a level 12. You know what I'm saying? There's different levels in people's life. Not everyone has a level 20 that they can get to. Not everyone even has a level 15 that they can get to. Some people are okay with being at that level 12, that level 10, you know what I'm saying? And there's different levels in life that people will be able to obtain and be able to get to, but not every single hotel has these same levels. Hopefully you're catching my drift. That's the second thing. Third thing is that there are so many buttons. So people are always pushing your buttons, right? You're always being tested in life. You're gonna have setbacks. You're gonna have moments where you feel down, you feel devastated, right? There's all these buttons that people are pushing. Every single time someone gets on an elevator, they're always pushing a button, just like people in your life, right? That's the reason that they come and go. People are always pushing buttons, trying to test you. Maybe they're trying to see how strong you are. Maybe they're just trying to, you know, I mean, they're just, I don't know, the relationship becomes wonky when people start pushing your buttons, but it tests you to make you a better person, to make you more stable. You know what I'm saying? Fourth thing is that literally a elevator only goes up and down. You know what I'm saying? You're going to go up in life. You're going to reach certain levels. Other times you're going to go down in life and you may have a setback. You know what I'm saying? You're going to be able to be like, man, like life is going great. I went from level 1 to level 5. Then something in life happened and you go back down to level 3. Something great happens, you go to level 12. You know what I'm saying? But then you get to, you know, your head gets too big, or, you know, maybe you weren't able to handle the level that you were at. So now we come back to level 8. You know what I'm saying? But there's always ups and downs in life, right? So that's the four things that I realized with the elevator. First off, people come and go all the time. Second thing is that there's different levels that people are always going to be able to get to. Third thing is that people are going to push your buttons. You know what I'm saying? People are going to be there trying to test you, right? And it doesn't even have to be people, it's just life testing you in general to be like, man, how strong will you be? And fourth thing is you know, you're only going up and down. In life, you're always going up and down. And if you feel like you're at this stagnant stage, hopefully you're slowly going up. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't always have to be to the next level as quickly as you want it to be, but hopefully you're moving towards the upward direction. That way you're gaining progress. You're gaining more experience in life of where you want to be at, what you actually want to do, where you want to accomplish, and the goals and the vision that you have for yourself. You know what I'm saying? So that's the first thing I say, that life is like an elevator. Second thing that I say is, and this is a experience that I had, and I'm gonna run you guys through it. I was going through a time in my life where I wanted to see God act in my life. And I was like, God, just reveal yourself to me. Like I want to listen. Like I was sitting there, I was driving at nighttime. I had my music off and I was saying, God, just speak to me. And I was asking him and I was telling him, like, I'm listening. I'll even be quiet if you need me to listen. And in that moment, I was actually quiet. I was driving home and I realized my surroundings, right? I started realizing that it was super foggy that night. And I was like, man, I really can't see farther than my headlights, you know? Like what I'm trying to drive, this is only the area that I can see. But I know that there's a sign at the end of the road. I know that there's a light at the end of the road because when it's clear, I can see the road, right? I know my area of where I'm going. But right now, it's foggy. And it kind of relates you to life because you're like, you don't always see what the vision is going to be. Sometimes you only got the vision of your headlights. Sometimes you only got the vision of what you have already obtained and what you got going on. Other times you're like, man, I don't know, I kind of need someone to hold my hand just to make sure I don't slip and fall, right? And so as I was driving, I'm going and I see that there's this light ahead of me and it has a blinking arrow telling me to switch the lanes. So I'm like, oh, you know, let me go ahead and get out this lane because if I don't, I'm gonna run straight into this sign and all of these cones and it's gonna end up damaging my car. And what I took that as is if I keep staying in this lane or I keep doing what I'm doing or I keep moving forward with what I wanna do, eventually it could damage my body, it could damage my mind, it could damage my my spirit just to be like, man, I'm not supposed to be in this lane. Let me get over here where God wants me. Let me get over here where I'm supposed to be at. Let me stop distracting myself from all these other things and get on the right path. You know what I'm saying? So I seen that God was talking to me and he was telling me, look, you know, even when it's foggy, even when you can't see, you still have me to rely on, right? Even if you feel like you've already seen the vision, you have all these things that you're working for, you have all these things that you're working towards, you have something to rely on, which is me. You know what I'm saying? God is always present in your life. And it relates to life because we don't always see everything that we want to do. We could plan it out, you know, we could try to put it into action. We could try to be able to accomplish everything we want to accomplish. But it's another thing to be like, I see exactly where I'm going. I already see the blueprint. Everything is already laid out in itself, but we don't see that. So I'm driving home to continue the story. I'm driving home and I make it all the way home, but I realize I'm like, man, like I truly can't see anything past where I'm at. Like it's just that foggy. And so I come home, I end up telling my sister and my mom, I'm like, hey, come outside real quick. And you know, I felt a little bit happy because I was like, I feel like I'm hearing from God, and I felt like the perfect moment to be like, God, I'm listening. And then he spoke. You know what I'm saying? Like it felt like it was that instant. So I come home, I get them, I come outside, I'm like, what is at the end of the road? And they're like, it's a stop sign. I'm like, yeah, but you can't see the stop sign. So how do you know it's a stop sign? They're like, well, that's because we know like it's a stop sign. I'm like, yeah, but like, that's how God works too. You know that eventually if you stay faithful, if you stay consistent with what you're doing and what you got going on, that God will be able to bless you to get you to the destination that you want to get to. But if you don't, then you never know what's at the end of the tunnel. You know what I'm saying? You never know. And the thing is that life starts to become more clear when you have God in your life because he gives you more visions for you to see. You can't have a good vision only going off your own mentality and your own thought process. You need God to come in and he'll give you more clearance and give you more guidance to where you want to go and where he wants you to be at. You know what I'm saying? So when you start correlating these things together, you're like, bruh, like, I realized that I need God in my life to be able to direct where I'm going in my life. You know, it's very key. And I realized from that day on, that was like 2 years ago. I always talk about that story. Like, you know, some people will be like, have you ever heard from God? Or like, what's your experience like religiously? And it's like, that one is so key in my life because I felt like I directly heard from God. And in that situation, I feel like he was also speaking to me to be like, look, this isn't the lane that you're supposed to be in. You need to be in this other lane. Right? I know you want to really be in this lane, but if you keep going down it, you're going to run into these signs and it's going to damage your car. Then you got to pay money that you don't have or that you didn't need to pay. Then you got to, your insurance goes up. You got all these different consequences that come with it. It's not just, oh, I hit my car and like, let me just drive off. Like, no, now you're Now you have a damaged car. Now you got to get it repaired. Now you have insurance stuff that goes up. You got to make a claim. All these different things you got to do. But had you just gotten in your lane, you wouldn't have to worry about doing those extra steps or even going through those extra processes. You know what I'm saying? So I think that that's how life is, especially if you're religious. It comes to a point in your life where you're like, man, I just feel like I really need more. And more doesn't have to be money. It doesn't have to be materialistic. It could be, I just need a relationship with God. Because in my life, I've experienced that the more of a relationship you have with God, the more peace you have about the things that you're already working on. All of a sudden, God starts just, blessing you with different things just because you're being faithful. Just recently, I was talking to God and I was like, man, I just pray that wherever you want me to go, reveal it to me, right? I'll go wherever you go and I will obey what you want me to do, even if I don't want to do it. And that can be a hard task because there'll be situations where God will test you. Like I said with the elevator, there's gonna be times where even God may try to push your buttons and be like, okay, let's see how, let's see how you do at this level. Let's see how much you want to maintain and that you want to obey and follow me. And at times it's going to be a test. But at the same time, if you pass the test or if you learn your lesson, when you fail, then you're still being obedient to where God wants you and where he's called you to be at. So as I think about, the private parking spot, where God wants you and what he's already called for you in your life. And I think about the sauna, how it can be challenging and, it's uncomfortable. And then I think about the elevator where it's like you're going up and down. You have different buttons of people pushing in your life, different challenges. You have different levels in your life that not everyone else has. And then you have literally the fog of life where you can't see everything, but you just have to trust that God is going to get you to where you want to get to and following and being obedient to where he wants you. You start to just realize like, man, life is just full of hidden messages. You know what I'm saying? There's so many different things that you could be like, man, that's how life can be operated. Like that's how my mind could be to think about how life is. And it gives you a different perspective. It does. So, I say this to say, I want you guys to start looking at different, I want to say situations in your life as perspectives. And ask God to show you what the lesson is in that moment. Because I could have easily just drove home and be like, man, it's just foggy outside. Let me focus on the road and, let me make sure I get home safely. Or I could have easily just gotten in the elevator, pushed the button, get off the floor and have no thought about it, just like a lot of people. I could have easily just walked by and see, all these parking, private parking spots or what's it called? Reserved parking spots and just keep walking. Like a lot of people do that. They don't think about the things that could translate into like a message or a meaning. You know what I'm saying? And when you start asking God, like, look, God, I'm trying to be aware. I'm trying to, accept your guidance. I'm trying to accept where you want me to be at. He will reveal those things to you. And all of a sudden you'll be like, man, I would have never thought about that. And then you could tell someone else and they're like, I've never thought about that. You know what I'm saying? So just a really encouragement video, man. I really want you guys to open up your mind and be more aware of your surroundings. So many people, they just walk around and don't have any thought about where they're at or what they're doing, and just ask God to work with you and work in you and be obedient to what he has already called you to do. So that's all I really got for y'all in this video. That's gonna wrap it up. Follow me on my Instagram. It'll be King Malone. Follow me or like this video, subscribe to the channel. My bad, y'all. And until then, I will find you in the next one. Gone.